it's time for September's calendar recipe for the month.
It is.
We've only got 3 left.
Right?
3 and 22. Wow, where did this year go?
I know.
Where
Right?
did we go? But we're going to make honey mustard chicken tenders. Chicken tenders are typically a favorite for everybody. Goes over well at our house with all age levels. So let's get this started. We are using, you can use chicken breast and cut them into these sizes, or use chicken tenders, whatever works best for you. The important thing is that they be all approximately the same size, because that way they all get cooked the same amount of time.
All right.
So,
in a bowl, we're going to combine mayonnaise. So we've got a 1/3 cup of low-fat mayonnaise.
everything's better with mayonnaise, right?
That's right.
And this is, well, not the only liquid, but surprisingly, very little liquid goes in here.
All right, and then 2 tablespoons of mustard.
Oh, mustard, 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons of honey and 2
Okay.
tablespoons of mustard. Sorry.
Okay, we're good. This is locally grown honey, actually right down the road. And I didn't go ahead and dip that out because you lose so much honey when you're measuring, because it stays in the measuring. There's 1.
It's going to give it a good flavor.
Without adding all that sugar, granulated sugar. It's a sweetness, but it's a natural sweetness. The other thing about honey is Kay can't pour it without it going down the side of the jar, so I'm not going to set it back on the tablecloth. I'm going to set it over here on my napkin.
Now, 2 tablespoons of mustard.
Okay.
And you can use any type of mustard. You know, we've got yellow mustard here, but whatever kind your family prefers or whatever you have.
If you want a little bit of flavor, you might use a brown mustard.
Or if you want a little spice, you could add a little spicy mustard.
I'm using the same dirty tablespoon that I used for the honey because we're just going to get the rest of the honey out.
That's right.
Plus, we don't like to wash dishes, so. Okay. I forgot to introduce myself for the new people, okay? I'm Kay Denniston, and I'm the FCS agent here at Bourbon County.
Kacy Wiley, the SNAP Ed assistant here in Bourbon County.
And we love cooking through the calendar. We have really enjoyed this year's recipes. They have been pretty.
This is about our 3rd year doing this.
This is our 3rd, yes. We started during the pandemic.
Yeah. So, all right, next we're going to add our seasoning. So we've got some garlic powder, some paprika, which is optional. So if you don't like the paprika, you can leave that out.
Paprika does add just a tad bit of heat.
And then some black pepper.
Which, if you leave the paprika out, you can experiment with it. Again, this is one of those recipes that the recipe is a guide. It's not set in stone. You can experiment with it. But if you leave the paprika out, you might want to add a little more pepper. If you like spicy.
That looks amazing.
Yes.
Notice we're not adding salt.
No
salt. We're not adding salt to this. Okay. So after we get all that mixed up, you're going to turn all pieces in to cover with the sauce.
Now, it recommends in your calendar recipe that you do this with tongs or wash your hands before and after. I'm using gloves just because in this first step, I want to make sure that this gets completely coated, okay? Because if each piece of tender is not completely coated, the next step when we pick up the breadcrumbs, it won't pick up as much of the breadcrumbs. So I'll try not to make too much of a mess here, but this is one of those dig in with your hands. And
I think maybe, I wonder if you could do this marinade in a plastic baggie and then put the chicken in there, and then maybe that would be fun for the kids to kind of help coat the chicken inside the baggie.
I make a peri-peri chicken that I marinate that way. And I thought about it when I did this, reading this recipe, because it says about halfway through to turn it over. So what I do is I marinate my chicken of the morning before I go to work, and then when my husband comes home for lunch, he flips the bag over, so you don't really have to turn anything, but that just makes all of the sauce go to the other side of the chicken. Okay, I think that's
good.
This smells, you know what this smells like? Honey mustard dressing.
Oh, yeah.
It smells just like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, now that those are good and coated, this is gonna go into the refrigerator and set for 30 minutes to allow all of those flavors to penetrate that chicken.
And if it happens to be more than 30 minutes, that's fine, okay?
Yeah.
Like I said, I just gave you an example of how we do it at
Yeah.
home. Make it work into your routine.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
gonna upset anything if it
No.
goes a little longer.
It's just gonna make it have more flavor, probably.
If you go less than 30 minutes, it might affect how much flavor you've got,
Yeah.
so, okay. 30 minutes, we'll be right back. Now we have let this sit and absorb the sauce. We covered it with plastic wrap to keep all those flavors from joining other flavors in our refrigerator. And we have it ready to be coated with the breadcrumbs. Now, this is where I changed the game plan. I like the gloves for getting in there and messing with that, but when I have the gloves on and messing that and messing breadcrumbs, I end up with gobs of breadcrumbs on every finger, and I feel
It's
like,
a little gooey.
yeah, so you have to work with this and figure out your game plan, but I'm gonna do tongs with this.
Okay.
So we're gonna take it from,
Got that. So we've got 2 cups of panko
oh
breadcrumbs.
yeah, thank you.
In the, like, just a shallow dish, and we're just kind of,
And make sure you keep as much of that sauce as you can on there to pick up the breadcrumbs. And just lay it in there and coat it real well. Now, I forgot to do something because we're gonna lay this over in our dish that we're gonna bake it in, and we sure don't want it to stick. So we need to lightly spray your dish. The best thing to do, people, is to spray this over a dishwasher. Open up your dishwasher and spray it, and then when it gets hot inside that dishwasher, it all disappears.
there you go. There's your helpful tip for the day.
There you go. That should be enough. It shouldn't take a lot, but we don't want to mess with it. So there, see, it's stuck really well. We're gonna place the chicken.
It's going to create such an amazing crust on these chicken tenders.
I mentioned another recipe that I have for chicken tenders, and I do it in the air fryer.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I bet these would work really well in the air fryer. I haven't tried it, but if any of you are interested, it's 280 on temperature for 15 minutes on one side. Flip them over and do, it says another 10 to 15 minutes on the other side, depends on how big your tenders are, and when you flip them, you can tell how much longer.
Yeah.
So,
One for sure way is to pull out that beef thermometer and give them a check to make sure they're reaching that internal temperature of 165 degrees.
that's right. And we will do that after we
Yes.
bake these. I think these are baked in a 400-degree oven, am I correct?
400-degree oven, yes. So we're gonna bake them for about 15 minutes once they go in. Turn them over and then put them back in for another 10 minutes. So total baking time, 25 minutes. But you wanna make sure that both sides get that good crispy crunch to them.
And I hope you're noticing how well these are, the breadcrumbs. This has made a really good sauce because
It
the
has.
crumbs are sticking. Sometimes, you know, it just kind of fall off.
Yeah, and it's a big lumpy mess and stuff.
And the
like that.
crispies are what I like. That's
Exactly.
what kids like too.
That's what kids like. So you're kind of creating, that fried chicken texture without, frying them in oil, which increases, the saturated fat and stuff. So it's just a healthier way to get that flavoring and texture of a fried chicken, but we're oven baking it, so it's going to be
Getting lots-
healthier.
We're getting lots of protein.
Yes.
It's a lean protein.
It's a good protein. Fill the bellies up.
You know, it's also one that hopefully everyone will like, especially
Mhm.
kids. Doesn't matter how good a protein it is if they won't eat it.
If
it's
they
not
won't eat
gonna-
it, it's not worth your time and effort,
But you
right?
can just say, we're having chicken tenders tonight, guys.
Yes. Yeah.
And they can help you prep them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, it depends on the age of the child on the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Your own discretion.
Yeah.
But they surprise us.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can do things that we never dreamed at certain ages.
Put it in there and they can spoon those breadcrumbs maybe over top of it or something.
I think you can see there's not gonna be a lot of sauce left,
Mhm.
the mustard and mayo sauce and honey. But if there were, we wanna make sure we discard that. You don't wanna reuse it. Anytime you marinate especially chicken. You
Yeah,
do not
don't
want-
use that for a dipping sauce.
No, even though it smells like it,
No.
because it has been contaminated.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna be cooking. I did really well up till the last two, and I got it on the tablecloth, so
Yeah.
this is our last.
All right.
We don't wanna lose any.
No, that extra little scrap out there.
That's probably gonna be the
That-
really crispy one
That's
that
gonna
we
be the one
like.
everybody's gonna want to eat.
So, we're gonna bake these in an oven on the middle shelf, and we'll see how they.
Yeah.
And
That's how you know it's gonna be good right
there
there.
you go. And we will join you as they come out of the oven and let you see our finished product. We got it out of the oven. It's time to check it. And check it in the thickest part of the meat.
165 degrees.
Oh, we're way.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We're good. Okay. Hope you can see. Make sure when you're turning it that you let it brown real well prior to. Oh, it smells good. Again,
It does
we
smell
say
really
this
well.
every time. I wish you could. I'm trying to get the pretty ones out,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm trying to cheat a little here.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes the breading's gonna fall off a little bit, and that's just natural. That's fine. Yeah.
I think part of that's my fault because I didn't leave it long enough on the first go round. So we don't have any good stuff to decorate our plate today, but we have honey mustard that we made because we didn't have any. And Kacy says, well, let's make some. So we made some. So not only did we make our chicken, we made our condiment.
Yeah, or dipping sauce. Yeah.
So we have completed another recipe, and I hope you'll try and share with us. And you might try the air fryer. I think I'm going to try that
Yeah.
with this because it's really not going to save a lot of time. I don't know if it would help that breading stay a little more. I don't know. I just want to try
Yeah.
to experiment.
Do have one thing to mention. If you happen to have a copy of the recipe book, right, the calendar, if you notice down here in the corner, there is a little QR code. If you wouldn't mind if you make this recipe to scan this code and tell us what you think about it. This helps planning in the future so we know what kind of things that you like and maybe what was great about it or what could have used a little work. If you don't have the copy of the calendar, you can still come in and get one. We have very few remaining though. And I think we'll pop this up on the screen too so that you can scan it that way as well. But that helps us out. So if you don't mind taking just a couple minutes and doing that for us.
Because we think this year's recipes have been good, but we don't know what you think. But
Yeah.
they can go back and rate the others as well.
Oh yeah,
can't they?
absolutely. You can go back through the months. There's one of those little QR codes on every recipe. So you can scan it and go through and rate it. So we'd appreciate that.
Be very helpful.
Yeah.
And I want to make another little promo for our next story walk, Wiley Cat Story Trail downtown. Our next book is What If We Were All the Same? How boring life would be if we were all the same. I really like this little book. It's all about diversity and inclusion of all different cultures and as well as body styles and issues that people have with being different. So we hope this will help educate our youth and start at the Bourbon Boot Store and travel downtown. The directions, the map will be there. When you complete the trail, you bring the little card in that you got at the boot store, that complete it, answer the questions, bring it in, and you'll get a little bag of goodies.
So everybody likes a little bag of goodies.
We're back at school again. So.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Well, I guess that wraps up this
September.
month, and we will see you guys in October.
October.
Maybe
Okay.
some fall time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thanks
Bye.
for joining.